Welcome, trendsetters. We are Alicia and Nicole from Positive Image. As salon owners, hairstylists, and business coaches, we're here to help you navigate the ever-changing landscape of the beauty industry and discover the secrets to creating a thriving salon business. So grab your favorite beverage, cozy up in your salon chair, and let's dive into the world of hair, style, and entrepreneurship together.
Do you have a budget?
I don't want to answer that.
Oh, I love it. That's fine. That's fine. Whether it's personal or a salon, whether you're a hairstylist or a salon owner, whether you're not even in the industry and you're just employed doing something, I don't know, you should have a budget. You should at least know how much is coming in roughly and roughly how much is going out. And I'm a huge advocate for having a plan for retirement in your future. Even if you're not set up yet, a plan, a desire, and some actions leading towards that goal.
What do you find is the most important items to list in your budget if we go into more salon side of
Or
things?
salon stuff. So many things we pay for. I think the biggest things are your wages, labor, commission. That includes stylists, support staff, you pay you. And then the next is rent and product inventory. I'd probably say those are like your top ones. And then all the other little things are much smaller in your, I guess, budget allowance. So utilities or credit card fees, education, benefits, maintenance, insurance. What do you think are the most important?
I would definitely say paying you yourself as the owner is super important. Yeah, the wages, the rent, your salon products, all your utilities. But I would definitely say that the most important would be your wages, because if you can't get the wages done properly, I'm just actually pulling up our budget sheet just to see if we're missing anything. So what a budget sheet that I think you and I have created, Alicia, we had like for support staff and stylists and stuff like that, anywhere from 50 to 70%, and then rent's about 10%. After that, it looks like it's back bar and retail, and then all the little smaller ones. So definitely having those as our budget. And it's quite incredible if you do have, say $25,000 a month, how quickly that can disappear. And
Oh, yeah.
sometimes it feels like you have no idea where it went. So I think that's one reason why having a budget sheet is so important. So you can really pay attention to what your percentages are, where your money is going out, and then you can make the right decisions to how you're going to purchase moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's the key part is like if you don't know what's coming in and you don't know what's going out, you're likely to overspend. So spending more than what you have coming in. And I think sometimes we think, we have a credit card or we have overdraft or we have savings and we have a constant drip of funds coming into our salon bank account because we have daily payouts. So we feel like there's lots of money coming in and we can't always see how or when we're spending, especially if we are also putting it into our overdraft or on our credit card. We're not always seeing how month over month or week over week we're overspending compared to what we have coming in.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. And I think, if you aren't diligent enough to keep a budget, this is where making sure you have a bookkeeper or an accountant who will show you that stuff. So if you're not on top of yourself for writing a budget, ask your bookkeeper if you can give them bills monthly rather than quarterly. And just say,
Mhm.
can you just kind of send me so that you can see the breakdown of what is being spent where, and then you can have an honest discussion with yourself about whether things need to be cut or whether you have room to make the small improvements or to expand the line or something along those lines too.
I do think that some bookkeepers or accountants offer, like, they'll pay the bills for you. I could be
Really?
wrong. I could be totally wrong. I don't know. I feel like some, like, will have, like, when they go through your bookkeeping, if something still needs to be paid, then they'll transfer that for you. Also, automated payments is really nice. So that way
They
it's
are.
always done and taken care of, because there's a lot of things that come out of that account.
They rule my life, automatic payments. It is just a thing of beauty. It's the whole set it and forget it. I think it's the way to build your credit for your salon and personal. And coming from a mindset point of view, if you're constantly thinking about having to owe money or you're constantly thinking about debt, like attracts like. So if your mindset's in a debt
Mm.
mindset, you're just going to attract more debt. If your
Yep.
mindset is in an abundance mindset because you're not, those things are being paid off, or even if you have a huge credit card payment and you can't make that payment, if you can set your credit card to take $100 every week or something and slowly pay off that card or whatever it is you have to pay off, and you don't have to think about, oh, I have to go to the bank and I have to pay this and that, you're going to be in a better mindset because you're not worried about the amount of money you owe and you can just focus on your growth rather than your loss.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great way to tackle debt, is just have it as an automated payment, and it's happening, it's set in place. If you don't have the situation where you can set things automatically, um, I think creating a list or a spreadsheet or reminders on your phone as to when monthly or weekly or whatever it is that you need to make those payments, including setting funds aside for yourself. So for me, weekly, I like to go through what was our revenue. So what should be our set aside savings from that revenue to take away from what's going to go for expenses. I would also throw caution in there with our set it and forget it, is that we still want to actually pay attention to what we're paying and make
Yes.
sure that the payments are correct, because sometimes some bills will be surprise bills, and so more will come out than what we normally expect, but maybe that's because we did something, and so the company that we're paying is charging us a different amount, and we want to be mindful enough to catch those, because sometimes it's not correct and sometimes it is correct. So I think being able to have just like a visual awareness of seeing what comes in and out of your bank account so that you can catch those little pieces is important.
And I know I do that where I go through usually every other week, and I do it when I'm paying my employees, as I'll just do a quick look over with my credit cards and with my savings or checking account for the business and just have a
Mhm.
quick look to see if everything looks normal. And if there is something that goes, oh, that looks funny, then I'll investigate further. And I find that makes a big difference for myself. But I also have 15 years of practice with that sort of method. I know when I first opened, it felt like reminders going off every single day to pay the phone bill, to pay this, to pay that, to pay
Mhm.
HST, and it just becomes a lot. And we have
That's
so much on
stressful.
our plate. Yeah, super stressful. And we have so
Yeah,
much on our plate as owners that it's nice to be able to have at least one thing that automatically does it ourselves.
most definitely. I wanted to bring that up too. I think more often than not, we don't actually include taxes into our budget, and we pretend like they don't exist, but they do exist, and they come to bite us every, I don't know, GST, HST submission time, or every income tax year-end time, or if you're not using a payroll program for remittance time, if you do that stuff on your own, then I've often heard that that's another portion of the, oh, oh, I don't have a couple $1,000s to give you. Weird. So keeping that in mind, a part of what you're setting away every week is going to be for taxes as well. So either you're
Yeah.
not kicking yourself come time for remittance or taxes, whether it's HST or income tax.
There is a really good book called Profit First. There's a few renditions of it, but there's one that's for salons, and they recommend setting aside 5 bank accounts, which can be a bit much, but I could even see one or two being there where you could almost have an automatic percentage. If you average out what your income is on a daily basis, and you could have that automatically take 13% out and put into the separate bank account for the taxes and stuff like that, or even just have like a slush fund account that you don't touch or something along those lines. So there are ways that you can sort of force yourself into savings even as a salon owner.
Yeah,
But if you do get into multiple accounts, then you might get into more fees from the bank for having multiple accounts too. So you need to weigh what would work best for you at the end of the day.
definitely. Everyone's situation is different. Do you have any good habits to keep you in line?
I find, especially when I'm first starting out, I really like to write down what I was spending on a daily basis in my notebook. And then that way, when I was going to do my bookkeeping on the monthly basis, it was a very easy for me to transfer what was in my notebook onto my Excel spreadsheet. Now, because I started out before smartphones were a thing. So now that we have smartphones, having notes or even having an Excel spreadsheet on your phone could be something as easy as just going into that spreadsheet and making a quick note of it and then reconciling it at the end of the day too.
Yeah, that's great. For me, I like the idea of bundling your things. So for the salon, it's weekly and on the Monday, Tuesday of every week. Once we get our deposit, I sit down and go through what needs to come out this week or what's supposed to come out this week and make sure that that's prepared and ready to go, whether it's shipping that money out or making sure that it's there and everything's good and happy, and also putting money away into a savings account for one savings, but also just for all the other expenses. I also like to double check my budget and make sure that we didn't overspend the week before in comparison to what our revenue ended up being. Because obviously, our revenue is not always the exact same. So there's always going to be a bit of a flow and a variation. So I want to make sure that we're still staying in line. And so that, say, when I was going to make a product order in a couple weeks, but we had a very quiet week, that I'm not overbuying because we didn't actually use as much as we needed from last order.
Yeah.
Or I want to buy more because we were really busy.
And do you have a budget that you stick to for your purchases in salon?
More or less. Yeah. I mean, I'd say it's still a loose budget because each week when I am looking at it, I am looking at the budget in percentage in comparison to our revenue. So it's always changing. I can set it out for the year, and generally that's what I want to stay within. But that doesn't necessarily mean we weren't higher or lower in our revenue. So when it comes to variable purchases, I will reflect on, well, were we above or below our projected revenue for the previous month? Okay, we were above. Okay, so we can actually purchase a little bit more, or maybe we don't need to. So maybe that's just a bonus. Or we were low in revenue the month before, so we're going to cut back and we're not going to buy as much. Maybe it's snacks or tea, even just the product supplies that we need to service our clients. Does that make sense?
I like that. Yeah, it does. It does. I think that's a really level-headed way to go. I think, you know, watching just your bank account to see whether you're making profit and or not making profit is not the smart way to go. And there are so many better and other ways to tell whether you are being profitable. And as a business owner, we do need to be very smart and headstrong about this. And sometimes you have to make the hard decisions whether I can't offer, 5 different types of teas right now because, it's been a slower period. So we need to just cut back on making sure we just have coffee, and 3 types of teas.
100%. But I mean, for me, and I'm sure for you too, like that's a constant thing. If we end up getting low on something, whether I've noticed it or the team's noticed it and they let me know about it, it is an evaluation of, okay, how busy have we been? Have we been above on our projected revenue or below? How busy are we going to be? And how crucial is that item to us achieving our standard level of service, whether it's what we offer or in hair products, so color or styling products. So can we still do just as good of a job with what we have, or do we absolutely need that item? Like, is
Yeah,
it your third herbal tea or is it bleach? There's different measures of what's crucial, right?
exactly. Exactly. And I think if you're not the one doing the ordering, making sure that the person who is doing the ordering, you have those conversations with them going, okay, I'd rather do 2 smaller orders this month for the essentials rather than one huge one because things are we're a bit tighter in cash flow than we normally are, or whatever that conversation has to be.
Yeah.
But making sure that that line of communication is open. Any other good habits that we should be implementing or thinking about implementing?
I think that's good. I'd love to know everyone else's habits. If anyone's got
Yeah.
any tricks up their sleeve to keep them in line, or if they're just out there melting.
Or do you use a budget? Like, do you use a
Yeah.
budget sheet
Oh,
or
yeah.
do you watch your bank account? Like, what are your money habits and are you brave enough to share them with us?
Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. Take this knowledge and just keep developing yourself. And hey, we want to hear from you too. Join the conversation using our hashtag Positive Image Podcast. Share your thoughts, questions, and success stories. Who knows, we might just feature you on an upcoming episode. Don't keep us a secret, tag your friends too. Want to keep learning? Check out our show notes. Find us on Instagram at hello.positiveimage and be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode filled with inspiration and insights.